Well, hi once again, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and joining us once again for another, what promises to be, a great edition of the 19th Hole, a podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and hope that your golf game is coming along. We're coming to you from the fabulous Rigel Studios right in the heart of the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. And like I said last show, we're open. A lot of people coming here. It's getting back to some normality. Shows are opening, restaurants are opening, so it's really, really good. The weather here today especially is a little bit strange. It's a combination of thunder, lightning, rain, so it is what it is. We're going to get that for a couple of more days, I think. We can obviously all, especially here in Southern Nevada, use the rain. It's a good thing. Doesn't make for such a great round of golf, especially with the lightning. But the old saying, you don't have to worry about it if you're caught on the golf course. Just stick up a 2-iron or a 1-iron, because even God has trouble, hitting a 1-iron. But hopefully that's going to go away pretty soon, and we're going to get some normalcy out of the weather. Anyway, we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite things to talk about. If you know me at all, if you follow me at all, and if you do catch us on a number of social media platforms, please give us a like. Please give us a subscription or any nice comments that you want to say. We certainly appreciate it, and it goes a long, long way. We're going to be talking to a very successful golf course designer, Mike DeVries, and let me tell you a little bit about Mike before we bring him on. As I mentioned, he's a golf course designer who has designed or reworked several of the top 100 rated golf courses. 1987 was the year that Mike graduated from Lake Forest College in Chicago, if I remember correctly, before becoming an apprentice with golf course architect Tom Doak, very well known, before attending the University of Michigan, completing his master's in landscape architecture in 1994. Very handy for a golf course designer. Adding to Mike's experience, Mike was employed by Tom Fazio, former guest right here on the show, for a short while as an on-site designer coordinator before starting his own company headquartered in Michigan. Of course, we'll talk to Mike about that. Mike was born in Saginaw, Michigan, the town made famous by country singer. Do you know it? No, you don't know it. Lefty Frizzell. And the odd thing about it, Lefty Frizzell was born in Texas. So, go figure that. Anyway, my pleasure right now. Let's bring up Mike and welcome him onto the show. Mike, thanks for taking time out. So happy to have you on the show. And as I mentioned, always love talking about golf course design. Thanks for being on.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Dennis. It's real fun. Looking forward to the talk.
Did you know that about Lefty Frizzell? He was the one that made Saginaw famous?
I did not. I was only there for about a year. Shortly after I was born, we moved to Grand Rapids, which is where my mom grew up. And my dad had a job there, so my early years I grew up in Grand Rapids.
Which is
college,
which is a great city. Yeah, which is a great city. Let me start off with this, Mike, to help clear up any possible confusion. What the hell is the difference between a golf course architect and a golf course designer, if there is any difference?
Really nothing. It's a terminology sort of issue, and I guess it would depend on what that person thinks of. Anybody, there's no qualification for saying I'm qualified as a golf course architect or a designer. People get into the film in a lot of different ways. Tour players are really good golfers. They're accustomed to having people say, "Hey, you're a really good golfer. I'd love to have you do this, this project or whatever, and be involved." And then other guys like Pete Dye. He was an insurance salesman, a really good golfer, and had been in. His dad had a small golf course, and he just kind of did it on the side. So it
Yeah.
just depends on certain issues or circumstances.
Pete, I had Pete on the show many times before he passed away. Great interview, great guy. I love all of his designs, and he was just absolutely terrific. But there seems to be a certain cachet when somebody said, "Well, I'm a golf course architect," rather than a golf course designer. But I agree with you. They're pretty much the same damn thing. You know, Mike, you hear the term so often, this is really a good second shot golf course. What does that mean exactly to you as a designer?
I think people mean that puts a premium on the approach shot, but in reality, if you don't have a good green complex and you don't have a good drive, and how can you be a second shot golf course?
Yeah.
You've got to play that first shot first. So maybe that's a way for people to qualify it and say you have a small target or they're very difficult targets. I think some people use that from a standpoint of shot value, shot
Right.
difficulty. People use different terms for it, and some of those rating issues do that. You got to think of it as a whole, though. You can't individualize things down into only one or the other type shots. They all have to work together, and if they don't,
Totally.
then it doesn't really fit well together. Just like you can't really say signature hole, because if you have one great hole and 17 other sort of, that's not good either. So I think you need to have a complete composite within the golf course, and the sequence as a whole is how one flows from one to the next, to the following hole, et cetera, is really important for the overall composition and the enjoyment of the golf course over a long period of time.
That's very well said, and I could not agree with you more. What is when you see a golf course that says championship golf course, quote unquote, designed by whoever? To me, that's just kind of a marketing thing. Do you agree with that? What is a championship golf course?
one that holds a tournament that the pros play, maybe. So it's Again, you're correct. It's a marketing term. I think the signature hole is the same sort of thing. Some guy in the 80s said, well, we're going to have a signature hole, and that's how we're going to sell the golf course and sell lots.
Right.
And I think that's more of a publicity thing versus thinking about some of the old classic golf courses. I mean, Oakmont, it's renowned for its fast greens and for being a penal, difficult golf course, which makes it a great venue for championship events. But that membership, really likes that it's a hard golf course, and they like playing it. There's a lot of memberships that wouldn't like that or wouldn't
Right.
want that, and that doesn't necessarily make it better or worse. It's a great golf course. It's got a lot of history. You think about the guys that have won there, with Jack winning his first title in his first major.
Right.
Johnny Miller's 63. I mean,
Yep.
There's a lot of really awesome stuff there.
Yeah, you're looking for the experience, and you said something before that brings me to a couple of questions. First of all, what are the types of greens that you personally like designing? I know there's flat greens, there's undulating greens. You could bury an elephant in the middle of a green, which I don't particularly care for. But what are the types of greens that you favor in your designs?
I'd fall more into the undulating and a little more complex green versus just tilted plains. You think of some of the old links golf courses, and they're basically just a flat plane. A lot of times, it's just a general slope one side to the other, front to back. And some of those get a lot more subtle and are more undulating. The old course is obviously a good example of that. And I grew up at Crystal Downs, which is an Alistair McKenzie. Perry Maxwell was the day-to-day construction supervisor. These are very difficult, severe greens.
Yeah.
And I think that you don't have to go over the top, but having contour, and if you have greens that don't get too fast, but are firm, roll true, have a lot of nice movement in it, gives variety, gives an opportunity for someone who maybe isn't a big hitter and isn't hitting a short iron in there. If they have a good short game, they can still be creative and use those contours to move the ball closer to the hole, or to have, say, a better miss.
Better miss.
If you have a good miss, we all know those guys that are real crafty players, have been playing for a long time, don't hit it as far anymore, and it takes them 3 shots or 4 shots to get to the hole, and then they chip and putt, and they're pretty deadly.
Yeah,
so,
they break your back with that. I agree with that, and I agree with the complexity a little bit, because you've got to think a little bit when you're on the green. You've got to be a little creative. You've got to really imagine what something's going to do, and when you hit a good putt on greens like that, you really feel good about it. Let me just get off subject a little bit. These guys are so damn good today with the way they hit the ball, the way they score, the way they figure out golf courses, the way they putt. What would you, as a top golf course designer, do? What's the one thing you would do to slow these guys up, so to speak?
I don't know if we can. I mean, the technology that they have, that they're using, and how they can take advantage of that, because they're so good, they're so consistent with their shots, with their swing, that it's very, very difficult for us to say, hey, this is what's going to thwart them, and have them score at even par or whatever. If that's sort of the U.S. Open standard, right?
Yeah.
But kind of unrealistic, and a lot of it depends on the conditions. And by that I mean weather conditions. So it's interesting, when you think about the British Open, you have scores that are really low some years because they have just perfect weather conditions, playing conditions, not very much wind. And then some years you get that, 1 or 2 days where the wind's blowing, it's sort of rainy, it's true Scottish weather, right?
Right.
And then those guys they're close to being at even par, or just a couple under maybe. So there's a big difference in that, and I think that's something that we don't have control over, obviously, Mother Nature, and it's hard to factor in exactly what they hit the ball so far now, and they're able to be so consistent with that.
Yeah.
That I think that really bifurcates the regular game, a game that all the golfers know, versus the super high level, pro, advanced amateurs that are able to, all the college kids that it's all about hitting the ball far, reaching a swing speed of 123 miles an hour or whatever it is.
Right.
And then they have a wedge in their hand. So it's very difficult for us to do that.
Yeah, that's why I like something like the Open. That's why I like something that we just had, the U.S. Open, because it makes these guys vulnerable. They have to struggle a little bit to make par. I personally like that, but I know most people, as you know, Mike, like them to make a lot of birdies and go low and this and that. That's okay for some people. I just like a little mixture of the other way, where you really got to work for the money, so to speak. Before we take our first break, let me ask you this. Can a person who has, let's say, a minimal amount of imagination, could that type of person be a good golf course designer that's worth his salt or her salt?
I think you have to maybe think about it in a different perspective, and it's not that they couldn't be successful or do something, but maybe there's just something wrong with all of us. I'm twitching a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think we're trying to always analyze things from a different direction. We're trying to really see, okay, what if we were over in this position? What if we're over in that position?
Right.
How do we do that? A little bit of a follow-up on kind of how can we make golf exciting? And I think the interesting thing is, growing up in the 70s and watching the Masters with my grandfather who taught me the game, and just remembering the creative shots. And they guys would go on big birdie runs there, right? They still do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, but there were a lot more creative shots being made. There were real issues at 13. Can I go for the green? And they're hitting a long iron.
Right.
Now the difference is, they might hit a 5-iron if they had a really bad drive, but it's rare. There it was, that opportunity was always happening. And I think that's what's kind of missing, because as amateur players, we have to hit those long irons or, a fairway wood into a green and try and feed it in there. And how many times do we pull that off? Not very often. But when we do, we feel really good about that. And,
sure.
But, I remember at Pebble Beach with the wind blowing hard and Jack threw that 1-iron at the pin on number 17.
17, yeah.
It just stuff like that's really exciting. More so than guys making 10 birdies. Or
I totally agree, Mike. I think that's well said. I think, speaking of digressing a little bit, a way to slow these guys up, just my personal opinion, if you make them have to think a little bit, if you give them options about
Sure.
shots, and also if you make them have to move the ball a little bit and stuff. But again, that's just me. All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to step away, take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have a lot more with our very special guest, Mike DeVries, golf course designer. He's out of Michigan. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that he's done, because it's been wonderful, and we got a lot more for you. So stay with us. We are back with you right after this.
Golfers at every level strive to hit the ball like a tour player, setting the club perfectly at the top, storing all the energy as they unwind and their club head approaches the ball, striking it flush at impact and staring it down as it explodes off the club towards the target. Introducing Precision Impact. Precision Impact is the single tool that will accelerate that process and get anybody striking the ball with complete command. Unlike any other product, Precision Impact is designed to keep the hands quiet and prevent the fatal flipping or scooping of the hands. This amazing product will actually reprogram your brain to keep your hands in the perfect textbook position. Precision Impact will soon have you hitting the most crisp, consistent shots of your life. As you start your backswing, you should hear several clicks as your wrist folds properly for a perfect set at the top of your swing. From there, allow your arms to fall as you aggressively rotate through the ball, knowing your Precision Impact will keep your hands and club head in the ideal position. Order now at PrecisionImpactGolf.com and never look back.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over, because I found the best ball I have ever played with. And more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com, and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scorers will love you for it. That's ONCORE Golf.com. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with much more of our interview with golf course designer Mike DeVries. We had somebody that is watching me do the show. We have a little bit of an audience because, I'm so damn popular, Mike. They came up with a good question. How do you figure out or determine what par should be on that particular golf course? Should it be 70? Should it be 71? Should it be 72, even 73? How do you figure that? I think that's a great question.
Most of all, it depends on what makes for the best fit, the best flow to the round. So, I mean, typically people think that, okay, golf is par 72. We have 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, 10 par 4s. But the old course at St. Andrews is par 72. They have 2 par 3s and 2 par 5s. Right. So there's no standard really to how to get to a number. And a lot of the tournament courses, they might be par 72 normally, and a lot of times the USGA or the PGA or whatever, they change the par to par 70 in the vein of protecting par or whatever, by making a short par 5 a long par 4.
Right.
So I think it right. has more to do with not trying to hit a target number, but by trying to fit the golf holes to the land and react to the land and provide for the right rhythm and flow. So I've designed golf courses from par 70, 71, 72, 73, never done a sub 70, par, for a full 18-hole regulation golf course. But those are around, and those are not lesser golf courses by having that. In fact, there's one on Moiset in Rhode Island, which is par 69, and a very, very tough test of golf. And there's lots of examples in England and Scotland where, it's less than par, but it's fun. People are out there playing. It's a good
right.
test of golf.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of fun. Mike, when you get hired to design or do, say, an extensive redo on a golf course, how much do you, as the designer, take into consideration the majority of the type of players that play there? Say, it's a Muni, and you get a lot of, you're not going to get a lot of scratch golfers there. I shouldn't say generally, but how do you take into consideration looking at the crowds that come there, the type of players? Well, they're all 20 handicaps, 25 handicaps, and stuff like that. How do you figure that? What's the formula you might use into the type of design that you put out for these people?
There's not really there's not an exact science to it. So you're trying to give people of all different varieties options, and a lot of regular golfers will think, why is that bunker there? I'm never in that bunker. It's not in play for me. Well, it's not all about that person's game. It's also about maybe a guy who hits it, longer than they do, or hits it offline more. So what we're trying to do is, whether it's a municipal project, a private golf course, anything, we're trying to provide a lot of different opportunity for people to make those decisions. And, one thing that you said before, mentally, how do people think about this shot, that shot?
Yeah.
And the stronger you are mentally with managing your game, the better you can score or play. And that's going to lead to also more direct sort of interaction, understanding of, hey, I've got to try this, I've got to try that. And then people are engaged too. If it's the same hole every time, it's only 30 yards wide, and,
right.
it's US Open setup with thick rough, well, most people are going to fail at that, and it's going to be kind of miserable. So how can we make it where it's fun and we can challenge people on different levels? Even a shorter hitter, a bunker that might be in play for the drive of a bigger hitter might be something that they have to think about of how they skirt around, because they can't get to the green. So they may be playing the hole as a double dog leg, even though it's a par 4. It might be a 3-shot hole for them.
Correct. Well, would you agree with me that most of the weekend players, your average weekend amateur, a lot of times really doesn't play from the right side of tees?
It happens a lot. We all have an ego, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I want to play the big boy tees. Yeah,
Right.
I want to see how I compare. Yeah, so I think that's quite possible. And it's I like to mix it up and play a lot of different tees because I'm a decent player, but I'm not great. I don't hit the ball super long. But it's also fun for me to see how players that are at those tees, like if I can go to like a men's day and I get paired up just randomly with someone who's 85 and another guy who's 65 and maybe someone that's younger that's that's in their 40s or 30s or something. They all play the game differently, but for me that's really interesting because I'm trying to see how people attack the golf course or think about the golf course, and we can all have fun doing that. That's one of the great things with handicapping.
Right.
If you're not a sandbagger, you can have fun and have a good bet and give your friend a hard time when you beat him for $2.
Totally, absolutely. I think it's good if you kind of mix it up once in a while, and because it is a different golf course, you play it differently. You have to
Sure.
think of differently. Given all the red tape that you have to go through today with environmental concerns, how much of a burden is it for you to create a design, and how much more money, Mike, does that add to your design, if any?
Well, it's certainly a financial factor and an important thing that we have to deal with. So financially, a lot of times you have to have consultants depending on the type of property that you have. If you're going through or have wetlands on your property, then you're going to have to assess that, figure out how the golf course can work around that, or do we have to go through a process to mitigate some of that? Like, because maybe there's a section, that we have to use over here. How can we create other wetlands, like in another part of the property, to compensate for that? One of the things that I think is a little bit misunderstood is golf has this misnomer that they're planting, they're using lots of chemicals and pesticides and things like that. We're growing a crop just like someone's growing any sort of plant material that we eat and we consume and stuff, but we're doing it for a specific purpose, and we're trying to do that as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So if you have really healthy turf grass, you also have a great filter that works for urban storm retention, detention, filtration of contaminants and things like that. Also, that the really good turf grass absorbs that and filters that system and things like that. So, I have golf courses that I've worked with for years, and they have a water course going through their property, and their water needs to be tested. The water leaving the property is actually cleaner than the water entering the property. So there's a lot of things that are going on with that. And the guys that are, the superintendents that are maintaining these golf courses, they're really highly educated. They're trained and they're certified to spray things. And they don't want to spray anything more than they have to because that costs money and that affects the bottom line. Golf's still a business. They have to do things that are right and right for the environment.
How much do you have to work with, say you're at a private club, doing a design in a private club, how much do you have to work with the owner of the property or the board of directors or any other people that they designate in kind of getting their okay, for lack of a better term, or overseeing you? Or is it once they go, yeah, we love this, Mike, go for it, they're off your back? How does that happen?
It varies at each course or each owner, but yeah, there's a lot of interaction, and they're educating me about what they want. I'm educating them about their property or what I see, and trying to provide options and understanding. So there's a lot of give and take back and forth throughout the process, whether that's a single owner, a group of owners, or in the case of a lot of private clubs, that would be you'd have a green committee or a special committee that is looking at maybe a project golf course renovation, And so you're dealing with them quite a bit. And then you're dealing with governmental agencies. The superintendent is always a very vital part of that, because he is maintaining the golf course day to day, and he's the one that really understands the property the best, because he's dealing with it and all the environmental issues that are there. So there's a lot of interaction back and forth, and some owners, just like other sorts of things, are easier than others, but there's a lot of back and forth with that.
Yeah, well, the agronomy has changed so much today. Irrigation systems have changed so much today. Christ, the kind of sand that you use in bunkers has changed today. So you've got to be always on top of those kinds of things, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with some of the irrigation changes. The technology changes so fast. There's a whole subset of people that we rely on and talk to. So I have a really good knowledge of all those types of things, but some specifics, I'm relying on talking to the superintendent at a project. They're understanding the grasses and what issues they're seeing in their particular piece of property. Irrigation design is a whole subset specialty. Oh yeah. And those guys are invaluable, and we're asking them a lot of questions, and this is what we want to irrigate, this is how we want it to play, how can we fix that, how can we do those types of things in the best way possible. So there are other, it's not one person doing the whole thing. There's a team, and it really is a team effort to get everything together and to work well.
It has to be. It has to be a team. All right, Mike, stay there. We're going to break away and take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to have a couple more questions for Mike and finish off the show, so stay with us. We return right after this, I promise.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the Lag Shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com. As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're just about wrapping up the show and finishing our interview with Mike DeVries, who is really a terrific golf course designer. He's got a lot of really, really nice properties. We could do a whole other show. I want to have Mike back sooner than later to talk about that. But Mike, in working with other golf course designers when you apprenticed and when you were doing this and that, what's the one or two things you try and take away from that experience and working with other designers?
Well, certainly you look at their approach, you ask a lot of questions, that's how you learn. And so, Tom Doak, we were in the field all the time. I was running equipment with him. I was running teams, putting in drainage. I ran a project. So I was sort of the day-to-day guy in charge on the project. So and with Tom, we were constantly talking about, shot values. This reminds me of this portion of this hole or whatever. We were always trying to figure out what kind of shots people were making. Tom Fazio, he's this great guy and a big name in the industry, and the projects that I was working on with him, were very high profile, big projects, and he was always really accepting of, my input and asking questions. Some of those might have been dumb questions at certain times, and he was just always really, really reassuring and confident about, oh, that's cool. He would take all that stuff and process it and bring it back. So I think it's just like anything else where you try and learn from mentors. You take what they have and clarify what they're doing or what you're trying to achieve. And some of that is direct, and some of it's maybe a little more, trying to think of what, how to call that. But I mean, it's something that you sort of absorb over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that you might ever get the chance to come out west, even to Southern Nevada, to do a golf course? Love to have you if you could. That'd be great for you, I think.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to do that. I've got some family in Vegas. They've been there for about 50 years, and so a lot of cousins out there. I don't get out frequently enough, but yeah, it'd be great to work in the desert. It'd be a different kind of environment. I've never done a desert course, so that's a different challenge, and it would bring about a lot of different options and ideas to sort of consider and to go for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wish you would come out. I'd love to have the chance to meet you in person and go out and tee it up with you. And it would be a lot of fun. When are you going to take me out to Crystal Downs? Tell me a little bit about Crystal Downs. I know that has a soft spot in your heart, and I'm looking to get out there, Yeah,
it's an amazing place, and I was fortunate. My family was in the area there, and my grandparents who taught me the game, they were members. So when I was little, I would follow them around. I would, where my uncle was a scratch player, and wherever he would finish near the green, I would like chip and putt where he was from. I'd try and do what he did, and I'd go to my grandmother's lesson, and the old pro at that time, Johnny Vaughn, would, why don't we have Michael hit a couple? And I'd whack a couple of 3-woods out there, and he'd say, "Oh, just like Arnold Palmer," and of course my grandmother would get very excited. So, Arnie was a big draw. So
yeah,
but it's a very special golf course.
Yeah,
I grew up working there in the bag room and working on the grounds crew, and and every day that I'm on the property and have the opportunity to be there. Sometimes that, when my kids were little and we were sledding off the first tee on New Year's Day, I would see just stuff that's different and look at it from a golf perspective, knowing how that golf hole played. But when you're going across the snow and, hitting bumps and hollows, it gives you kind of a different perspective. So it's one of those courses that belongs in the conversation of, it's a great golf course and, top 20 in the world, whatever the ranking is, but it sets itself because every day you see something new and exciting.
It's a wonderful property. All right, so you're saying, Mike, if I call the pro shop and tell them you and I are very good friends, they're going to give me a media rate to get out?
They're very restrictive at this time of year. It's a small membership that gets out in the summer, and
Yeah.
off seasons are easier. So if you're going to make the trek to Michigan, you got to let me know, and
Oh,
we'll
totally.
make it happen.
Oh, totally. That would be absolutely fantastic. Real quickly before we finish, anything new on the horizon you could tell us about as far as a new design?
Yeah, the biggest thing in this September, I'm heading back over to Australia, where I did Cape Wickham and King Island, which is a part of the state of Tasmania, and that was about 7 or 8 years ago. But we've got a new project in Hobart, which is the capital city of Tasmania, called
Great.
7 Mile Beach, and it is a great city. Food, farm to table type food. There's a great museum there, one of the most renowned museums in Australia, and just about 250,000 people. So it's a really comfortable size.
Sure.
And this site is literally 10 minutes from the airport. It's an international airport, lots of good access that way. And it's dunes, sandy dunes on the ocean. So my partner, Mike Clayton, and I, we formed a partnership with Frank Pond a few years ago. And Mike Clayton and I will be doing that. And I'll be down there for 6 or 8 months starting in September.
Oh, that's great, and I'm sure it's going to turn out to be another great facility that you're going to do. Anyway, Mike, thanks so much for spending the time coming on. I love talking about this stuff, and like I say, we'd love to have you on sooner than later, and we look forward to the opportunity.
Thanks, really appreciate it, Dennis. Lots of fun.
Thanks. Glad you enjoyed it. All right, everybody, we're going to step away. We're going to bring you our game improvement tip of the week with Adam Bazalgette from Scratch Golf Academy. Go into a couple of commercials. We'll finish up and finish off the show. Stay with us.
Hello there, Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy, with another 19th hole podcast for golfers, tip to help you become a better golfer. Let's have a look at a greenside shot, and let's suppose you're either a relatively new player or maybe you struggle with these shots. We're looking at a reasonable lie and a relatively straightforward chip where I can run the ball a bit. So what's the key? Well, the key is the fewer moving parts you have in any shot, the more repeatability you have. Now, you need moving parts. You need the club to move if you're going to hit the ball very far, but that isn't the case here. We don't need speed. So there's several things we can do to sort of help that out, especially at the setup. With putting, we like to see the shaft in line with the forearms, as opposed to me being more on top of the shaft where I can hinge it for a full shot. Maybe not quite that way here, but closer to in line, a little bit more of a putting type grip up in the palms. That stabilizes the wrist right there. Next thing, you can get a little bit closer to the ball because you're going to let your arms bend up against your body just a bit. When they fold up and touch your ribs, it's a stabilizer. It keeps them connected throughout the stroke. And of course, I'm going to be nearer the ball when I do this, when I bend my arms and shorten up on the club. And I make it a little bit taller because the club effectively shorter. That helps the club go in a straight line. Now, after that, focus on the pivot. If you can get your body working a little bit, you will really have a reproducible swing. You have a few practice moves like so, like that, and even a miss hit isn't going to be that bad. The club will sit slightly down on its toe. That's okay. Let's give it a go. There's my grip in the palms, arms a bit folded. Little body pivot, hit it just a hair too firm. Very, very repeatable shot. Hope this helps you.
When it comes to golf, I'm a man of few words, as you'll see. Looking for out-of-this-world technology in your golf ball? Encore Golf. Looking for exceptional performance and durability? Encore Golf. Looking for the best performing ball for the price? Encore Golf. Check them out at Encore Golf, that's ONCORE golf.com. Your scores will thank you.
Yeah, no, honestly, I tell people every day, they want to look at the golf ball. What are you playing? Every time they're like, what is that thing? And I'm like, this thing's better than a Titleist. That's what it is.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, everybody. In case you did not recognize that gentleman you saw in that short spot for Encore, that is Andy Pope, and that was taken at the U.S. Open. He was a qualifier. He's a brand ambassador for Encore Golf, and you're going to be hearing a lot in the future about this young man. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition. I want to thank Mike DeVries for coming on the show, and we wish you nothing but fairways and greens. Get out and play some golf. We will see you again next week, same time, same place. So set your clocks, and we'll see you again. So long, everybody.